heroes of this dimension?
Your reputation precedes you.
We haven't done anything heroic in years.
It all started on planet Bellum with Ratchet, a restless tinkerer, hungry for adventure.
Are we home?
And the rest is intergalactic history.
Is that a rift?
Just those stupid lombaxes!
I've fought a long time to win our galaxy back.
Someone call for backup?
Your campaign of destruction, cruelty, and wanton snobbery is over!
Ratchet!
Welcome, O master of us all.
All right, it's time to discuss Ratchet and Clank coming to the PC. These are some of my favorite videos to actually do lately in particular. It sort of allows all of the people watching to jump into the discussion and all have the same underlying groundwork of understanding when we do that trailer first. So I want to say how much I appreciate everybody sticking around. First thing we should talk about just for a moment is how much the GeForce leak has really informed gamers about Sony's plans for PC and showed that their plans for PC have been around for quite a while. Helldivers 2 was announced here recently, and now we see Ratchet and Clank and some other games on that list that was leaked a great deal of time ago. So we're looking at these games on the PC, and I want to talk about them on a technical side. The first thing I want to discuss is the people saying, and they're going to say this, and they are rightfully saying this, which is, oh, the power of the PlayStation 5 was the only thing that allowed Ratchet and Clank to supposedly exist there, so how is it on PC? Well, there's three parts to this. The first part is technology moves forward consistently, and the PC is an updatable format where logistics-wise, the consoles are not. And so what we're seeing is the ability for the company to look at the titles that maybe might have had some difficulty in putting them on there. Now, this isn't the first one that we've seen jump onto the PC. Forspoken was one. And when you look at these, why is this happening? When you look at Spider-Man, you look at Forspoken, now you look at this. Well, I want to discuss direct storage just for a second. When you look at direct storage and you look at Windows 11 and then Windows 10, it's sort of being backbuilt into Windows 10 later. Direct storage is that ability for the PC to use all of its memory, its RAM, in a particular way that allows it to work just a little bit more closely like a console. And this is something that port makers will take advantage of regardless if they work for Sony or Microsoft. I think a lot of people hear something like direct storage and Sony wouldn't use it. Well, when they're making a port for the PC, of course they do. They use all of these things. And that's one of the places where direct storage does allow for us to have that almost instantaneous loading, something that we saw demonstrated in Forspoken, less so, I believe, in Spider-Man. If I remember right, Spider-Man did have, a couple second loading here or there when you teleported or when you moved. When it comes to Rift Apart, one of the things that was originally discussed was the teleporting itself, the rifts. How were they going to be handled? And I think when you look at the game overall, it was a little bit disappointing. It was handled in some ways, but it was a little bit more like teleporters in a specific location versus what a lot of people thought originally, which was going to be planet-to-planet teleporting. We may see some adjustment here on the PC, but I want to talk about something that's just exciting, guys. Absolutely cannot wait to see this, which is mods on the PC for this game. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because mods for the PC on this game may allow for a mod maker to figure out a way to teleport from planet to planet instantaneously with no load screens, just to see if it works, or all kinds of abilities with that teleport to really mess around with the game. That's where the mods, I think, for Ratchet and Clank could be unbelievably exciting to see. And honestly, for this game, it rose this game up in my list of titles I want to see, probably above almost any other title, just because it's built into their technology already. It's built into the engine, the plans are there, and the idea of mod makers to go out there and really mess around, pull it apart, and see exactly what they can do is hyper exciting. Now let's discuss the system requirements for a second. First, I don't believe system requirements almost ever. Anytime they say minimum, it's almost always above that. Anytime they say average, it's above that. Anytime they say high, well, sometimes that works. When you look at the requirements for these games, they usually just don't make a lot of sense. However, we do and have the ability to look at prior games. Now, they didn't really announce any kind of specific PC requirements in their trailer that they announced, but I could certainly believe that the requirements are going to be probably larger for this game just to handle that ability to teleport. We're just going to have to see what they require of the gamer. and what the developers end up wanting to do with this title. But I could personally say that I would expect there to be a great deal more when it comes to system requirements, having to align to a specific set that's a bit higher than what we have right now in a lot of other games when it comes to requirements. I could be wrong on that. When I'm looking at this game and I'm thinking about what they're going to try to pull off, you know, Spider-Man does some amazing stuff with the swinging and going through the cities and just that feeling of being a swaggering teen in a city. But Ratchet and Clank probably requires a bit more from the system depending on what's going on. And so those system requirements are pretty important, and I hope to see those soon. The next thing I want to talk about is they got native support for the DualSense. They got NVIDIA's DLSS, AMD FSR, and of course Intel. This is awesome because they are just covering everything now with the upscaling. And that to me is really exciting. We've seen it built into the other ports that they're doing. And this is just something that the more work they get with these, the better the future games are going to get. And if you look at that NVIDIA list for GeForce Now and you see some of these games, well, you can tell that this is what's happening and this is what's coming. A lot of this will be speculation, even though we do have that leak being correct for these games. You never quite know when their timing will be and if changes do end up occurring later on. One thing that PlayStation has been clear about here recently is that while PC ports are for sure planned, you shouldn't expect all of the instant day ones to be on PC. You will still see them released on the PlayStation 5 and then iteratively on the PC. But let's just look at this sort of as something that's happening in the future and just go down the list real quick in a little bit of a guessing game for what's coming for the PC. We've seen Returnal come in, of course. We've seen Ratchet and Clank now just announced. We haven't heard about Demon's Souls, but we know it's coming. Or if we did hear, I can't remember, but that's definitely coming. And then GT7 is on the list as well. And Sony's got a lot of titles. Microsoft too, it had Square titles on that list. I'm excited for this because I think that the technical mastery that these port companies are going to get over a particular period of time, this is vital. This is important. So I want to make this clear. I think it's absolutely incredible for them to get more and more work on the Sony ports as quickly as possible so that the next port and the next port and the next port are better and better and better. Because we have seen, as a lot of people remember, The Last of Us Remastered just didn't do so well. So the idea of getting all of these companies that are doing ports for them, really jumping through some hoops, understanding the hardware, the switches over to the PC, and as we move forward, that ability for them to iterate into PC versions more quickly without a lot of those issues that are tech where maybe they don't get a chance to work on it very often. So when they finally do, you don't get that optimization that you're looking for. When you look at Ratchet and Clank and the stuff that they're adding, including DLSS, we are starting to see these full-featured titles from Sony, and we're starting to see these full-featured titles when it comes to console ports. That is exciting to me. It's awesome. It means that they're finally taking advantage of the PC themselves, because we've had this in the past where you get that console port and you're like, man, they just don't seem to be taking advantage of the PC. Now, I can honestly say it certainly feels like they are. I'd like to know what you guys think of Ratchet and Clank. This is exciting to me. You guys can tell. I like this game. I think it's awesome. I like to talk about this kind of stuff. So leave a comment what you guys think of this. Tell me, and I'll try to cover any other games that you guys may have questions about or that we see announced. Peace out, and you'll see some new podcasts and reviews coming soon.